Hey everyone, now that S550 GT350 production is over, today I want to cover all the different colors that this car was available in for its 6-year production lifespan. Now, I just covered the S550 GT500, so now it's time to do the 350. Now, Ford has not yet released the 2020 production numbers for this car yet, so we don't know the full breakdown of how many of each color were built, but 15 to 19 data is available, so you can get a pretty good rough idea for all the other years about how many cars were built. So there were 21 individual colors that this car was manufactured in from 2015 to 2020. You had 8 color options for 2015, 8 color choices for 2016, 9 colors for 2017, 10 colors for 2018, 9 colors for 2019, and 12 individual colors for 2020. Now, of those 21 individual colors, 4 of them were available for all 6 years of production. 1 of them was available for 4 years. 3 of them were available for 3 years. 6 of them were available for only 2 years, and you had 7 one-year only colors. Of those 7 one-year only colors, 1 of them was in 2017, 1 of them was in 2018, and for 2020, you had 5 one-year only colors. Now, one thing worth noting is, even though this car was produced in 2015, they only made 137 cars that year, and they went to a very select group of people. So it really wasn't until 2016 that these cars were available to the general public. So Ford used the same color palette for 2016 and 2015 for those years. Since 15 was such a small production year, they just kept all the same colors for 2016. Now, one thing worth noting that I have mentioned many times in my videos is you have to look at the colors of these cars in person, especially if you are looking to purchase one of these cars. Forget the digital renderings on the internet, forget high definition photos. If you're gonna go out and purchase one of these cars and you're spending this much money, take the extra time to see the car in person if you're not sure about the color. Inside versus outside, overcast versus sunny, the lighting conditions can make these cars look very different, especially the cars that have metallic paint on them. So they can look dramatically different, and you want to look at these cars in the sun because that's how most owners are going to be using the cars, on beautiful, bright, sunny days, and that's how, for the most part, you're going to see the car. That's what I experienced, some of the colors that I looked at. So like I said, take the extra time to look at the colors in person so you really know the color choice that you're potentially going to be going with, so you know exactly what it looks like out in the sun. Now, obviously, stripes were a very popular option for these cars. Stripes were available on almost every color combination. Stripes were a $495 option on these cars. I don't want to get into the breakdown of all the different exterior color and stripe combinations because it would just be too many to cover, but most cars had probably about 3 or so stripe colors available. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less. Obviously, white was available on almost everything. Black was available on almost everything. You had some blues and reds, but you had a few different color stripe choices for each car. You also had the option for a black painted roof that was available on almost every color. That was a $695 option. Now, the only real exception to these rules regarding the black painted roof and the stripes were the 2020 Heritage Edition. I will go over those exceptions individually when I get to that color when I cover it. So let's go ahead and take a look at all 21 colors that the S550 GT350 was available in. Now let's start off with the colors that were available for all 6 years of production from 2015 to 2020. You had Shadow Black, paint code G1. That was your pretty standard black color. Ford had used that on many other vehicles before, so if you just wanted your very common black color GT350, that would be the color you would go with. You also had Oxford White, paint code YZ. Oxford White is also another standard Ford color that has been around for decades. That is your very standard bright white color. You had Magnetic, paint code J7. That was a metallic color. That was also a pretty standard Ford color, a gray color that Ford had used on many vehicles. So if you just wanted a gray GT350, that would be the color you would go with. And finally, Race Red, paint code PQ. That is the color of my car. And when you think of red sports cars, Race Red would be the color that would come to mind. Now, you had one color that was available for 4 years. That was Triple Yellow, paint code H3. That was a $495 upcharge. Now, that color was available from 2015 to 2018. That was a very loud, very bright yellow. That was basically a taxi cab yellow color. You had three-year only colors. You had Avalanche Gray, paint code DR, that was available from 2015 to 2017. That was a very light color gray. It was a non-metallic color, so it was a pretty subtle color, but it was a very, very light gray. You had Ruby Red, paint code RR. Now that was a metallic color. It was a $395 upcharge, and it was available from 2017 to 2019. That was basically sort of a maroon burgundy sort of red, not nearly as loud and in your face as race red was. And finally, you had Kona Blue, paint code L6. That was a metallic color, and it was available from 2018 to 2020. That was probably the darkest of all the blue colors available for the GT350. That was a color that in darker lighting conditions, it could almost look black because it was such a dark blue color. You had 6 2-year only colors. You had Competition Orange, paint code CY from 2015 to 2016. Now that was a very red color orange, almost the way Code Orange is today. So it was not nearly as much of an orangey or lighter color that you would typically think of for an orange car. You had Deep Impact Blue, paint code J4. That was a metallic color from 2015 to 2016. That was kind of a medium blue, a little bit more to the darker side, but it was definitely a very definitive blue color. You also had Lightning Blue, paint code N6, also a metallic color. That color was available from 2017 to 2018. Now that kind of took over for Deep Impact Blue. It was a little bit of a lighter color, but it was very similar. You also had Orange Fury, paint code NL, also a metallic color with an upcharge of $495 from 2018 to 2019. Now that was a pretty bright color orange. That's pretty much the color you would expect an orange car to be. You also had Velocity Blue, paint code E7. That was a metallic color from 2019 to 2020. That was a very medium color, very bright color blue that was very pronounced in the sunlight because of the metallic in the paint. And finally, for the 2-year colors, you had Ford Performance Blue, paint code FM, also a metallic color from 2019 to 2020. It was not quite as bright as Velocity Blue was, but it was also a very medium color blue. And finally, the 1-year only color. Starting with 2017, you had Grabber Blue, paint code CI. That was the lightest of all the blue colors offered for the GT350. That was almost like a baby blue color, but it was a very light, very bright colored blue. For 2018, you had Leadfoot Gray, paint code JX. That was a very subtle dark gray color, non-metallic, and it was a very noticeable, very distinguishable color just because it was such a dark color gray, but because it didn't have metallic in it, it had almost like a very flat sort of look to it, a very unique color. And finally, the 5/20/21-year only color. So we'll start off with what will be the most popular color for 2020, the Wimbledon White that was part of the Heritage Edition, paint code N4. Now that car had a lot of exceptions to it, as I previously stated. With that car, it was a $1,965 upcharge to commemorate the 1965 GT350, and that car did not have the customizability that most of the other GT350s had. It came standard with not only the Guardsman Blue over the top stripes, but it had stripes on the rocker that said GT350 on it. And with that car, you could not get a black roof on it. You had Twister Orange, paint code CA. That was a $495 upcharge for that color. That was very similar to the Orange Fury that it replaced for 2020. Now that was a non-metallic color, Twister Orange, so it did have a little bit of a different look to it compared to what Orange Fury was the year before. You also had Rapid Red, paint code D4. That was a metallic color with a $395 upcharge. Rapid Red basically replaced Ruby Red, a very, very similar color, and it's very difficult to tell those colors apart unless they're right next to each other just because it's such a very similar paint color. You had Grabber Lime, paint code F9. That was a very loud, very bright, almost like a neon lime green color that was very distinguishable. And finally, you had iconic silver, paint code JS. That was a metallic color. That was a very standard silver color that Ford had used on many other vehicles before. And that is all 21 colors that were available for the S550 GT350. All right, so final thoughts. As you've just seen, this car, just like the GT500, wears virtually any color very well, whether it's dark colors, light colors, metallic, non-metallic paint, with or without stripes. The body lines of this car make any color work very well on this car. And regardless of what color you go with, I think pretty much anybody can agree that this car looks good in really any color combination. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.